This is The Weekly Set, the official podcast of TVenthusiast.com. Episode 53. Recorded April 21st, 2016. Hello everybody, and welcome to the TV Enthusiast Podcast, The Weekly Set. This is episode 53. I am your host and editor-in-chief of TV Enthusiast, Tyson Gifford, and joining me today, as always, is my friend and our keeper of comics at TVenthusiast.com, the very sick Will Roerig.
Hi.
Will Roerig has a cold, so we're going to try to get through this podcast quickly and let him get some R&R. We're going to be doing it a little bit differently, though. This podcast, instead of going over the news and then talking about what we've been watching and then ending by talking about what's coming up in the next week, since this last podcast, we've actually put out another show that's like news-focused. So we've moved some of the things around with that. So in keeping with that, we're going to try to do something a little bit different with our weekly podcast here, and that's we're going to talk about what we've been watching first, but then we're going to be talking about a topic each week. So this week's topic is going to be about streaming video. But first, let's kick it off with what we've been watching this week. Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt just came out this last week, and I've been watching it. I watched through the whole season. Will was catching up through season 1 and got caught up through that, and then watched the first 3 episodes, you said?
Yeah, I'm 3 episodes into a new season now, with everything I had to watch, including this, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's Kimmy Schmidt again. It's, second verse, same as the first kind of thing going on here, but, that's not a bad thing. As you said earlier when we were talking about this, it is very in its format, but that's good.
That's good because that's what I wanted. I don't want the show to change, or it doesn't have to. It's one of the funniest shows, period. I would say on TV, but it's not on TV, it's on Netflix, but it's literally, if this was on TV, it'd be dominating. It'd be the best comedy on television right now. That's how good I think it is.
I rarely, any other show will make me bust up laughing the way Kimmy Schmidt does. And it's usually a real sudden thing. I'll catch on to some kind of a wordplay they do or some kind of real clever thing that just, it hits you, and the second you realize it, you just kind of burst out laughing. And I've kind of noticed I've been laughing really hard through the second season of Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, the same way I did through the first. So you're only 3 episodes in. We're not really going to talk about spoilers. I'll mention a few things, but there's nothing that's going to spoil anything.
Some of the stuff is just wonderfully random too. It's like the last episode I watched, the random mentions of Interstellar. And it's funny because there's one scene where Titus is talking to this guy, and he's he's telling you may know me from movies I've seen. And then he says the first 20 minutes of Interstellar. And then there's another scene with Mrs. Voorhees, now Mrs. White. And she's oh, I'm not a quitter. I watched the entirety of Interstellar. It's so random. I'm
yeah, there's little callbacks and stuff through, in the jokes throughout the thing. And there's even callbacks to stuff earlier in the season, later in the season, as well as callbacks to stuff from the first season. So, last week you were talking about how, to me about how, you really liked the episode where they did the musical they referenced the musical Daddy's Boy, and it was this, kind of pedophile story, really sick story or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, that was completely referenced again, including the full song from the show.
That's hilarious.
So yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that. There's one episode in particular that has a bunch of music that's it's like music except slightly changed for copyright reasons in a hilarious way. I don't know if you ever watch Conan, but Conan does a segment where they do they do the name that tune or something, but it's a tune that's slightly off from what it's supposed to sound like.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't have to pay for the music rights or something, and it kind of reminded me of that. So there's all these, Kimmy basically just gets a tape of all this music that's, a tape, which is also funny. It's cassette tape of, all this music. The tape's called, it's kind of like those, now that's what I call music or something, but it has like this name, like, I don't know, it has this name that kind of implies like, now that sounds like music or something, even though it's not.
That sounds like music. That's hilarious.
So through the whole episode, they'll be like, you know, they'll be playing some really classic song, but the lyrics are different, you know?
Another fun thing from the last episode I watched is like they bring up Ninja Turtles, you know? I mean, it's funny, and then there's like a scene where like Kimmy's singing the theme song to herself, and then she goes, man, whoever wrote that song must be a billionaire. And then as she's walking by, there's a big sign that says, Chuck Lorre wrote that song.
And that's true. That's actually a true piece of trivia. Chuck Lorre, the creator of Big Bang Theory and Two and a Half Men, he actually wrote the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles song.
Yep, he actually wrote that song. I thought that was funny. Like I was like, it's just another way. Like this show was so wonderful in so many ways.
So have you noticed there's this kind of underlying thing I noticed in the season, and like right after I really noticed it and kind of like thought to actually think about it, they actually addressed it directly and made it more like part of the actual plot. But have you noticed how Kimmy constantly is burping?
Oh yeah.
At first I just thought like, that's just funny, you know, she's just burping. It's like, so like, okay, whatever, you know, but then they actually work that into the plot. I won't say how or something, but it's...
Ooh, yeah, don't spoil it.
No, but it's just funny the way they do little things like that, you know, because, I mean, even without working into the plot, it's just funny that occasionally she's just burping.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, so it's, if you like the first season, you'll like this, again, the second season. If you haven't watched the series at all, but you've watched 30 Rock and you like that, it's Tina Fey. It's pretty much the same kind of format as 30 Rock had, so you should like that as well. That's also advice for anybody that really likes Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt but hasn't seen 30 Rock. That's a whole other show you can watch. It's very similar. But yeah, so Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, winner again.
Nice. Yep. Winner again.
It's exactly what I needed. I needed like something that was just ridiculous and really fun and really light and happy.
Yeah, right. It's like, I mean, like, what I love about like Kimmy Schmidt's, like, she's such like a positive character, you know, like, such a positive protagonist, which is like really a breath of fresh air because these days, you know, there's a tendency to get protagonists that are, you know, miserable, sarcastic, or, you know, just not like happy people, like genuinely, and Kimmy is like a little kid, and like,
and she's so good at it. Ellie Kemper does such an amazing job of basically playing Kimmy like a 12-year-old girl.
Yeah, you almost like believe like Ellie Kemper is like that in real life. It's like, you know, you can believe that because she does a fantastic job of it, and it's amazing, and it's like,
even when other people are talking to her, like her facial expressions and stuff, just make me crack up.
Yeah, just her facial expressions, just hilarious. Yeah, she's excellent in this. But I mean, Jesus, just buy Netflix for this show. Just buy it, watch it. You'll have a good time. You'll enjoy yourself unless you're literally.
And then you'll have a ton of additional content on Netflix to go through. Yeah. Because there is a slew of amazing content on Netflix, but we'll get to that on our featured topic.
The only way you won't enjoy the show is if you're dead inside. Okay?
Yeah. There are some people that have a lot of complaints about the show, and they say like, oh, this part's tired. It's like, here's the thing. It's like you said, there's so much comedy out there that's really sarcastic and about kind of sad sacks. You know, they're miserable, and that's kind of like the premise. And those are funny, and I enjoy those. I even like the comedies that
like Louie
aren't even necessarily funny. Like Louie, a perfect example.
Yeah.
That can be straight up depressing at times.
Right.
It's really funny. This is something completely different. This is like kind of surreal almost. Like it's like magic realism in a sense. It's just that skew of what's natural, like, and the way people talk to each other. It's just really childish and in the best sort of way. It's like a cartoon.
Yeah, it's like a cartoon. It's totally like a cartoon. And it it's great. Oh, one of my favorite lines, this isn't from season 2, this is from late season 1, but I still loved it. It was like that one girl, Miss Voorhees' daughter, that starts with a Z. But
I know you're talking about.
Well, yeah, but she goes to Kimmy, she goes, the 90s called, it wants its wardrobe back. And then Kimmy shoots back with, the 2090s called, you're dead. You wasted your life.
Yeah, these weird snappy comebacks are like very funny.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed it. I know you're gonna enjoy it for the rest of the season. So yeah, let's move on. I'm gonna talk a little bit about a time travel series. Now the thing here is that we've been watching a lot of time travel shows.
Yeah, the Flash included.
The Flash included, also Legends of Tomorrow and all these other ones. But what I found funny is this time travel show I'm watching, in half an hour, managed to set up the characters in a believable way, explain their motivations, give you kind of an idea of their strengths and weaknesses as characters. They traveled to 3 different time periods that are all like very distinctive, very time traveling. One was like with a dinosaur, one was with what's it called? Salem witch trials, and lastly with cavemen. So like these very distinctive, very time travel-y things, and actually managed to have kind of a believable plot line for what they're doing, and kind of the major part of the story, which was Salem, much better so than what Legends of Tomorrow has really been able to do.
That's not hard.
But here's the thing. This time travel show I'm talking about, that's not even the one I'm going to be discussing tonight. That was Time Traveling Bong.
What?
Time Traveling Bong, which premiered in last night for me, which was Wednesday, April 20th, for 420, of course. Time Traveling Bong debuted. It's airing every night this week. So it's gonna air again tonight and then again tomorrow night. But yeah, it's in half an hour, it's been better than Legends of Tomorrow with time travel.
That just blew my mind.
And the show I'm actually going to talk about tonight, I just wanted to use that as an example. The show that I'm actually want to discuss tonight that's also about time travel is 12 Monkeys. So 12 Monkeys came out last year. Of course, it's based on the Terry Gilliam movie of the same name. It's a really smart show. It handles time travel in a really interesting way. Season 2's been really good. There's only been 1 episode out so far of season 2. Thanks to screeners, I've seen the first 7, so I still have the 8th lined up to watch. But it's really good. It's really compelling science fiction. It's really good time travel. They handle things in a really interesting way. They're a little bit loose with certain things in time travel, but they're also addressing it as like this is all theoretical ground. Like they're not like, oh, this is how time travel works, and then they like blatantly break their own rule and nothing happens. Like they're basically saying like we're in uncharted territory and things are happening that they didn't expect to happen. But it all seems kind of plausible and interesting, and it's really handled well. So
on the other hand, like Flash and Legends of Tomorrow don't actually give a crap.
They don't care about science at all, and Legends is just like, let's do a time travel show. We'll just film in the same sets over and over again. We'll say like, this is the 70s and this is the 80s, and it'll all look exactly the same.
Not the place to discuss it, but the latest episode of Flash threw like some time travel crap that did not make any sense, and like basically they did not care.
We'll talk about that on Monday when we do our comic book show. But yeah, 12 Monkeys, great time travel show. I think the first season is on Hulu right now, the whole first season. Second season just started airing. You can check it out. The first episode should be on Sci-Fi's website. So if you want to watch it and catch up through and go to Sci-Fi's website, they're probably going to do what most channels do, which is once they have like 4 episodes, they're going to erase the first one and move on. Unfortunately, that's what most networks are still doing. But for right now, it's all online. The entirety of what's available is online. So check it out. I also want to talk a little bit about Better Call Saul. Season 2 finale just happened, and they just set up like a huge character reveal, a Breaking Bad character that's going to be showing up on Better Call Saul. That was really cool and really well done. And like with season 2 of Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul hid the secret of what was going to happen in the titles of the episodes.
Oh, nice.
So they were like a little clever with that. Fans ended up finding out before they were supposed to, because fans are clever, and they figured it out, like when they decoded the message. I'm not gonna say who's back because that's a spoiler. But yeah, I didn't even know that this message was encoded, and I figured it out by the finale, just because of like the way it was set up. I'm like, I think that's this character that's coming in. That seems like this character. But yeah, it's a really cool kind of reveal. It's like bringing in a character without you ever actually seeing them or hearing their name, which is really interesting.
Oh, interesting.
Kind of, you know enough about the character that you see these signs and you're like, oh, that character's coming. So it's really cool that the way they set that up. And this whole season has been really good. They've been dividing up the action between, Mike and Saul. And so Saul, who's called Jimmy in this series because he hasn't changed his name yet, has more of like this slow burn story. It's like real slow and it's methodical and it's developing things. And then you go to Mike's story and his is more kind of like what you'd see in Breaking Bad when you'd see Mike. Like he's doing Mike stuff, you know?
Mike stuff.
And yeah, so there's lots of great stuff. There's amazing stuff at the very beginning with this guy he's working for that's just clueless, that's hilarious. This like accountant looking guy that's really kind of totally on the spectrum, Asperger's, and just can't, does not get it that he's like in over his head in this crime game and is putting himself in just constantly messed up situations, and Mike's like having to deal with them. And it's really funny. And then as it escalates, it starts to get into more serious material, for Mike. And so it's really cool the way they divided that up because it lets you have Saul's story or Jimmy's story. It lets it basically be very slow and methodical because then it'll cut to Mike and you get kind of your excitement. And then the payoff for all that methodical buildup ends up being really good as it goes on and is still kind of really developing this character. And it's all because they're able to they're spacing it out with Mike. They're using kind of Mike for the real exciting, fun stuff. So it's really interesting. I don't know if I've ever seen a show work that way before, where they've kind of divided up the show between 2 characters and used one character to represent fun and another character to kind of build up this character development. That would normally be kind of boring, except you have it cut in with all this other stuff happening. It makes it really fascinating. So yeah, Better Call Saul. I know some people thought the second season was too slow. I loved it. I think it's way better than the first season. It's totally on Breaking at that same tier of quality.
Nice.
But yeah, that's all I have to say about that. I believe the first season of Better Call Saul is on Netflix right now.
Oh.
And, season 2 just finished.
So season 2 just finished out its season.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
And so we're going to move on to our main topic. So our topic today is about streaming services. Now, the reason why this topic has come up is because Amazon has just finally offered a monthly plan. Well, actually 2 monthly plans, and they still have their yearly plan. So basically, Amazon's plan is now really complex. So you can still get full Prime on an annual rate of $99 a year, which is, in my opinion, even still with these new plans, it's like the best deal on the internet.
Yes,
for $99 a day, or not a day, $99 a year, you get free 2-day shipping, which is just right off the bat is worth it. But you also get the full streaming library of content, which is a lot of good stuff. Hannibal's on there, as we've mentioned before, but also they have some really good originals on there as well, like Transparent and Man in the High Castle. But not only do you get the 2-day shipping and that, but there are other perks. You can check out books if you have like a Kindle or the Kindle app on your iPhone or whatever. So you can kind of basically get books for free, kind of like checking them out of a library.
You got access to like the Amazon, Amazon Music, which is like they have their own streaming music service.
Yeah,
you get access to that.
It's amazing for $100 a year. I mean, think about that. That's less than $10 a month.
Yeah, that's less than $10 a month. They're just, it's just $100. Like it stings to spend that like $100 like when it happens, but it's like you're set for the entire year. You don't have to think and worry about it. It's nice.
But now they've announced 2 new plans. So these 2 new plans are both monthly plans. So if you're like Will and it stings to take that one thing, or if you're like, I'm only going to need Amazon Prime during like the Christmas season, and then I'll get all my packages with 2-day shipping for Christmas, and then I'll also like start binge watching all the like original content on it, If you have that kind of a mentality, well, now you can get a monthly plan on Prime. So you can get full Prime, all the same features at a monthly rate of $10.99 a month. But they're also offering now a streaming only plan. This is only for their digital video. So this is only shows like Transparent and Hannibal and just digital video shows. This is no 2-day shipping, no music, no books, nothing else. For $8.99, which is undercutting Netflix by $1 now that Netflix is going up for everybody that was grandfathered in to $10.
Right.
In addition, they have add-ons on Amazon. So you can add on Showtime or Stars, both for $8.99 a month.
Stars.
Showtime right now, not so much great going on Showtime. Stars is another story. Stars has some interesting stuff on right now.
Yep.
And it has a really good show on the horizon, which is, American Gods.
Yep, you better subscribe to Stars for that. I'm telling you, right? Early warning, you don't want to be left behind when that show premieres.
So yeah, Stars is going to be totally worth it. When that happens, right now it's already pretty interesting, the stuff that they have on there. So yeah, definitely you can do that. They have other add-on services, but we're not really going to talk about those because they're kind of
boring.
They're like exercise or fitness, or the one they had that was kind of interesting is they have Con TV, which I think is $4.99 a month, and that kind of gets you like video access to like Comic-Con panels and all sorts of kind of geeky stuff, and they license some like B movies and stuff that kind of all fits in that mold. So
yeah, it's kind of interesting.
It's kind of interesting, but still it's not really within our coverage range. So I didn't want to go in depth on that. But yeah, that's Amazon. Amazon is killing it with this right now.
Amazon is, well, yeah. One thing I don't get though is like they have Prime streaming. It's going to be its own separate, like, monthly subscription.
Mm-hmm.
But then you can do a monthly subscription to Prime, which includes streaming. So why would anybody just go with the streaming only option? I don't know, unless
it's $2 less.
Oh my God, $2. Jesus.
It's also both the regular video streaming and the monthly Prime. Both of those are more expensive than the annual price to get full Prime. So you can get the full Prime for less than just the instant video if you buy it, year by year. But, of course, the benefit of having it monthly is you can just have it for a month if that's all you want it for. I know a lot of people, like I said, Christmas season, 2-day shipping is amazing during Christmas season when you have so many packages coming in, all the different things you're buying for different people and all the stuff going on then. 2-day shipping is killer in that time of year. And if you don't really care too much about the streaming, or if you're just going to binge, like I said, binge all the streaming in that month or something, then hey, $10.99 a month, just get it for November or something and you're done.
Yep, pretty much. I mean, it's really good that Amazon is taking the gloves off and really bringing it to, Netflix and Hulu and HBO and those services, because I think they could be really successful with the monthly pay model. I mean, I don't know, like, what their internal numbers were or anything, but I gotta admit, you gotta figure they're probably like sitting there thinking they get way more subscribers if they had like a cheap monthly subscription versus just asking people to pay $99 up front.
Yeah, definitely. It's a better option for people that aren't confident. Like, people aren't going to be like, I don't know, maybe I'll subscribe to this. $99, sure. But if they're like, I'll subscribe for a month or something for $10.99.
I don't know if I'm going to like this. Here's my $99.
Yeah, so it's nice to have that. In addition, of course, they have the free trial, which is a month as well. But yeah, it's good. I'm glad they're doing it. But that being said, I think I still value my Netflix subscription more. It's more expensive. It has less stuff. It's only the video streaming. I still think I value it more because of two reasons. One is the amount of original content on Netflix. It's so good. And it's kind of funny because now, I don't know about you, but for me, Netflix now means original content to me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't go, hey, I'm going to hop on Netflix and find this old show that, started before. I might still do that, but that's not what I think about when I think about Netflix. I think about Daredevil and Jessica Jones and Sense8 and Narcos and...
Like this morning, I fired up Netflix specifically to watch Kimmy Schmidt.
Exactly.
That was it. That was it. I didn't fire up Netflix going, geez, I really want to watch that 90s Flash show. I mean, I do, but...
Yeah, like I don't feel anything for that. Like that, I'll still watch stuff like that. I watched the movie Dope recently on Netflix, for example. But when I think about Netflix, the thing that comes to my mind is original programming. That's what instantly comes to my mind. Amazon, it's still 2-day shipping. That's still the first thing that comes to my mind when I think of Amazon.
Yeah, when I'm subscribing to Prime, when I'm spending that $99, I'm thinking about all the sweet 2-day shipping I'm going to be getting. I'm still not thinking about their video service.
Yeah.
The video service is like when I'm shopping, like on Amazon for stuff to buy, and then some movie will come and they'll be like, have that Prime banner. I'll be like, oh, cool, I can watch that, I guess. And it's like, yeah. Like,
the other issue I have with Amazon, the other thing that's keeping it below Netflix on my quality level, or like when keep as my go-to streaming service, where I will never pick Amazon over Netflix if the same show is on both services.
Yeah.
It'll always be Netflix first.
Yep.
If Hulu, even with commercials, I'll go Hulu before Amazon.
Well,
even dealing with commercials.
I would not go that far, but yeah.
But the reason why is because the software experience isn't great.
Yeah, software experience on Amazon isn't that great.
I really wish they fixed that. Yeah, exactly. I think Amazon desperately needs to fix their software experience. Because right now, it's limited what you can get it on, whereas Netflix and Hulu are on everything. Any streaming device you find is going to have Netflix and Hulu on.
Yep, Amazon Prime Instant Video needs to be on more devices. Like, seriously.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that it doesn't Chromecast, it's like the only service. There are like little tiny services that are hardly known that have Chromecast support.
Because they want you to buy their stupid Kindle, like, hardware, and it's like...
It's stupid.
Yeah, it's stupid. It's like, how's about no?
But even when you have the app running, it's a confusing interface because Amazon has two markets, basically. They have Prime Video, which is what all the free stuff you get for subscribing as a Prime member, but then you also have this whole library of stuff you can buy. And that's confusing, the separation between those two.
It's actually more confusing now because if you've been on Amazon lately, since they did the add-ons, there's actually three markets. There's Prime Video, which you get just for subscribing to Prime. There's the stuff that you can buy from Amazon. Then there's the stuff you can watch with the add-ons. So that says, like you'll be browsing through the movies and they'll say, watch this with a Star subscription. And it's like,
yeah. So
it's even worse now because they added the add-ons and now you're seeing all these movies and they're telling you three different things, and it's like...
Yeah, it's frustrating, it's confusing, It doesn't make much sense. It desperately needs to be fixed.
It does. It needs to be overhauled, you know?
Because no matter how much, I mean, right now, I mean,
They should probably
I don't think anybody I know would keep their Amazon Prime subscription. Like, and I know a lot of people who watch like Transparent and, you know, Man High Castle and all the streaming stuff, or just other movies and streaming stuff. I don't think any of them would keep their Prime subscription, even though it's a great deal for just that, if it didn't have the 2-day shipping. And that's because of the software experience. If it had a great software experience, then people would be totally cool with paying the same what they do for Netflix, you know? They'd be like, yeah, I'm down for that. That's really cool. I'm fine with that. But no, they can't do that because the software experience is shit.
Yeah.
It just needs to be fixed. So Netflix recently upped their pricing. Before, people who are longtime Netflix subscribers are paying $7.99 still, because we're grandfathered in on the plan. A new subscription is $9.99. Well, they still have a $7.99 option, but it's SD. There's no HD option, and you can only have one active stream at a time.
Yeah, no, nobody's gonna pay for that.
So it's kind of like the shitty, like, we can still hit the $7.99 price point.
Yeah.
Marketing plan, you know? Their actual full tier one is $9.99. Of course, like I said, people that have had Netflix for a long time are still paying $7.99. That's about to change.
They have a $3.99 tier, the resolution of a postage stamp, and and somebody will come to your house and talk through every show for you.
I was gonna say, and there's like an annoying chirping sound.
Yeah.
It's like that you can't quite discern. You're like, what is that?
What is that?
But yeah, so they have this the $9.99 plan. That's going to be for everybody now, even the people that were grandfathered in. Come May, and it's I think in the middle of May. I think it's like May 12th or something. If you're paying $7.99 for Netflix, unless you want to go down to that SD one active stream tier, you're going to be going up $2 in your plan, which to me is no big deal. $9.99 for Netflix is still a killer deal.
Right.
I think that's perfectly fine. I mean, you think of $9.99 a month. Basically, that's what it costs for to get like a meal at fast food out now. Fast food's jumped up in price. You buy like a double Western combo from Carl's Jr. and that's like $10 right there. You know? And this is a month of Netflix. So it's totally worth it.
$2 more. How could I pay that? I can't pay that. Yeah. I'm gonna have to give up dinner for like 2 days a week.
Yeah, so it's totally worth it. Great plan, but Amazon's undercutting them by $1 with their streaming only plan. Nobody's gonna want that. Their full year plan is still...
Amazon needs to just make Prime streaming its own website, like kind of separate from the main Amazon website. That way you can go to the Prime instant video website and look at all the stuff you can watch without being exposed to like other stuff that doesn't come with that subscription.
With a user experience like you'd have on Netflix or Hulu.
Yeah,
which both have really good user experiences. Hulu, of course, the ads is a whole different thing, but Netflix and Hulu both have really great interfaces, really great queues, everything's set up really well.
If they overhauled their player and just made Prime Video its own website, then, you know, they'd really have something.
Definitely. So Hulu, we had mentioned before, I think they still have a free tier, but when I was doing research for this, I couldn't find out what the difference is between the free tier and the limited commercial tier, which is what I have, besides just less commercials.
The free tier is you're limited to the amount of like episodes you can watch. I think right now
I couldn't find specific details on that though.
Like right now I can watch the entirety of the current season of Once Upon a Time. If I was a free user, I'd probably lock to like the last 3 episodes that aired.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So yeah, that's something that like I've had it for so long now that I was like trying to figure out like what was the difference and I couldn't find it. I was like, I couldn't find any documentation on it.
I remember because I've been on both sides of that fence. So yeah.
So then they have another plan. They have their limited commercial tier, which is what I have, and it's what you have as well, right?
Yeah, I have the no commercials or.
Oh, you have the no commercials.
Mm-hmm. No commercials
Okay.
plan.
So you have the premium. You have the luxury plan. I'm actually thinking about going up to that, but it's another $4. So.
I have this is how Hulu should have been when it launched plan. Yeah.
So the current plan, like when I'm watching on limited commercial tier, if I'm watching, like, let's say I mostly watch anime on Hulu. So let's say I'm watching like Boku no Hero Academy, which is a new anime that's on there. 30-minute episode. I'll get probably maybe 3 or 4 commercial breaks, and each one will have between 1 and 3 ads. And that's their limited ad plan. If you have their no commercial plan, you don't have any commercials except on certain shows. Apparently, I think Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. still has commercials. I've heard some other shows still have commercials, and that's just because of contracts. They can't get around that, you know?
Right.
But anything that's original to Hulu, anything that they have the right contract for, which is, I think, most of their content, is gonna not have any commercials. But you know that better than I would because you're actually on that plan. How is your commercial experience on Hulu?
It's great. The only things that show commercials are like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and like Once Upon a Time, and those are only before and after the show airs.
Both ABC shows, so I wonder if that's specifically tied to ABC.
I think it would, but oddly enough, Agent Carter did not have any commercials at all. That doesn't even make sense to me because if S.H.I.E.L.D., because it says due to streaming rights, like this program will have commercials before and after the program, and that's on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But then
that's weird.
Agent Carter comes on and there's no such restrictions. I don't understand.
That's strange. But yeah, Hulu, that's kind of Hulu's problem, which is, Hulu's issue isn't really their fault. It has to do with licensing issues. They have these licensing deals with companies, and it's because the main reason to have Hulu still, even though they have some good originals now, the main reason to get Hulu is as an option to watch shows like the day after they air. So if you're a cord cutter, or if you just don't, bother taping, or you don't have a DVR or something like you will, you don't have a DVR, so you want to watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or something, you're gonna just go to Hulu. And it has those current shows and the current seasons of those current shows. It's less about like binge watching through a whole series like you would on Netflix. In fact, what you'd probably normally do is like binge watch on Netflix and then catch the current season on Hulu.
Oh,
So that's kind of what Hulu is. That's kind of its main, what's the term? Raison d'être, or it's its reason for existing, for the most part. And they have original content now too, but that's kind of what Hulu's at. Hulu also has add-on stuff like Amazon. Right now it's only Showtime, for an additional $8.99, same as you would on Amazon.
right, right.
Yeah, that's Hulu. In addition to that, there's a lot of channels now that are offering their own streaming services. HBO Now being the big one, $14.99 a month, the most expensive of all of the plans that we've mentioned here. Still don't think that price is as valuable as Netflix or Amazon, for what they offer, or even Hulu for what they offer. But if you're a fan of HBO's content, the fact that you just have access to like the entire back library of everything HBO is pretty amazing.
Yeah, HBO had some amazing content, so that makes, HBO has always had that advantage. And that's why people were begging HBO to cut the cord and just come out with their own independent service, is because HBO does have that history of having such great content, and they're still producing great content. And I think people really, really thought, just really wanted that to happen. And it's also funny in comparison to Netflix. I think one of Netflix's stated goals was to become HBO before HBO could become Netflix. And it's kind of it's happening that way, actually. Like Netflix is starting to do all this stuff, this original programming like HBO, and HBO is pivoting to be more like Netflix.
Yeah, they're kind of both heading in that direction, which is interesting. They're meeting in the middle somewhere. But in addition to HBO Now, 2 other premium services have streaming services now. So Showtime for $10.99. I think that's way overpriced. I think Showtime has a few really good shows, but they've been kind of I don't know, stagnant recently. They don't have as nearly the prestige level of like what HBO Now can give, you know? They have like Homeland and Dexter, but they don't have Sopranos and Deadwood. And you know what I mean? Like they don't, not even close to the tier of HBO Now. But I don't even think they can match up to what Netflix has now in original content.
No.
And Netflix is significantly cheaper, at least $1 cheaper every month. You know, that's $12 a year cheaper. And it's like, I'd say they probably have twice as much worthwhile content on, Netflix easily than is on Showtime. So Showtime, I think, is asking too much.
Showtime definitely is asking too much.
Of course, you can get it for only $8.99, so $2 cheaper if you do it through Amazon. But then, of course, you have to deal with the confusion of how to tune into it and how to watch your content, which is what we talked about with Amazon before. The other premium channel that's broken off into this kind of content is Starz. And Starz is priced right at $8.99, same price as it is as an add-on on Amazon to get it by itself. And like I said before, Starz might just be worth it right now. I'd say Starz is probably one of those ones that maybe not worth it year round in the way like some of these other services are, but it's definitely one of those ones when like American Gods comes up, it's totally going to be worth the price of entry.
Yeah, totally. Starz,
Ash versus Evil Dead, same thing.
Look, these networks that like invest in good content, their services are going to be worth the money. I don't think Showtime has the content to justify it, you know, like original content, you know, but, you know, I think HBO, like Starz is putting in the work now. Netflix is putting in the work. You know, I think if you're not putting in that work, then you're just going to be irrelevant.
Yeah. So, then we have CBS All Access. So this is kind of one of the ones that, you know, when we first heard about it, you kind of shake your heads. You're like, oh,
like
a free broadcast channel.
More like Star Trek All Access.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the killer app. So CBS All Access, $5.99 a month. Unless you're a really big fan of the old CBS owned content, including all the old Star Trek shows, and you want to watch them all over again, not really worth the price, but they're going to start making original content, which is really strange that CBS is going to make original content only for their streaming service, but not for CBS. You'd think they'd do something where they put it on both, you know, like HBO does. But no, they're kind of making content specifically for CBS All Access. And the first show they announced for this is Star Trek.
Yeah.
It's a new Star Trek series. Brian Fuller running it. Sounds amazing. They're getting like all these great writers on board, all these producers on board that are connected deeply to the Star Trek universe. It's like, yes, they're making all the right choices on this iteration of Star Trek. And right now it looks like it's going to be the Star Trek tax, basically. If you're a Star Trek fan, you have to pay this $5.99 tax during the run of that show. But if they're gonna be serious about this, if they're gonna just totally branch out into original content, I think it might be kind of interesting to see where they go, because if you think about, what do you think of when you think of CBS?
Hell if I know. Like,
I think of like CSI and CSI. All these procedurals, and I think of old people.
That's the first thing that came to my mind. I didn't want to say old people though.
I think that's what a lot of people think of when you think of CBS. It's the old people channel.
Yeah.
And right now, the only like known show for their online is it's like the king of geek shows. It's Star Trek.
Yeah.
So
well, CBS.
I wonder if they're.
Yeah, it's like what one of CBS's biggest franchises that they own, you know? It's like, it's like,
I wonder if this divide is going to happen though. I wonder if they're going to say, hey, older audiences are not going to be interested in watching, you know, their NCIS on a streaming service. They're just going to use their TV. And so we're not even going to bother. We'll put it up on Netflix.
I don't even know what the hell they're going to do. I doubt there's going to be any logic with what they decide to do with this.
But what if they did it? What if it was a completely different thing? Like they open up new content wing and it's all geared towards a younger audience. So it's not like we're not getting NCIS on CBS All Access. We're getting Star Trek. We're getting other stuff in that vein.
That would be nice.
Really interesting.
That would be interesting. That'd be nice, but I highly doubt it. They're using Star Trek because they know it's a big franchise. There's a movie coming out. They know they could generate interest and buzz with that.
And they know they're not going to get the old people over. Like, they're not going to create an original CSI or NCIS for the streaming service because the old people aren't going to know how to tune in.
Right, exactly.
So, so they're skewing with something that skews more towards younger tech-savvy audience.
I still expect them to throw NCIS on it just because.
Oh, well, they own it. Why not? You know? But yeah, I'm interested to see if they're going to continue to make original content and if they're going to kind of separate their brands.
That would be.
They do have some stuff on CBS that really does fit with something like Star Trek on there. The Person of Interest being a great example.
Oh yeah, that would be interesting if they made, like actual worthwhile new content just for this service.
Yeah, and it'd be like the polar opposite of what you'd expect to see on CBS.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing, and this is the even weirder plan, is NBC. NBC plans on launching several streaming services. Not one, several.
Oh, yeah, that's right. This is stupid. It's gonna fail.
Yeah. The first one's called CISO, and instead of putting up like a bunch of like, hey, they have Parks and Rec and Seinfeld and all this stuff, no, they're not putting any of that up. What they're putting up is like original content that seems to be at about the quality level of what you get on YouTube.
Lol.
Like original content on YouTube, I mean, not like, the whole of YouTube with everything, but when you see a web series on YouTube, that seems to be about the quality bar that NBC is aiming at. With
yeah, this is gonna be a failure.
So, and it's just so dumb. It's like, they should have just made a universal streaming service. And you think about it, Universal, NBC, they own NBC, they own Sci-Fi, they own USA. Put all that together, put it on a streaming service. You don't even have to worry about original content right now.
I don't know what they're thinking about. It just proves that the executives at NBC, they don't understand the streaming market. They don't understand this new digital. They're dinosaurs. They're feeling threatened. Their existence is feeling threatened, so they're throwing out this half measure as if it's going to do anything. And, eventually they're just going to be irrelevant.
I'm also interested to see what CW is going to do because
CW has CW Seed.
Yeah, but it's not subscription.
Well, no.
And what I'm wondering is because they've been talking a lot about the possibility of taking shows like Flash and Arrow off of Hulu. And one of their main points of contention is that they really want to hammer home the CW as a brand. If they do that, I wonder if that means they're going to do their own paid subscription service like that. They just haven't done it yet.
Right.
Thankfully, they haven't yanked their content from Hulu yet, I'd be really upset if they did that and then, like they said, well, we're thinking about doing this, so we're going to yank the content now.
They do that. That's the end of me watching their program, so yeah.
So I'm glad they haven't done something stupid like that. To me, it tells me that they're really thinking about what they're going to do with it. I think CW Seed is another experiment. I think what they want to do, and this is how CW Seed works, is CW Seed has advertising. And I think that's kind of where they're aiming at. Like, instead of being subscription, they're just going to stick with ads, but for the streaming service. If they do that, if they turn CW Seed into the full CW thing, and you can watch every episode of Arrow and every episode of The Flash, and they don't have that stupid, like, only the 4 most recent episodes kind of shit. If they do that with CW Seed,
if they put
that would be cool.
Yeah, that would be cool.
So yeah, no word on Fox. Fox hasn't said anything about what they're thinking about. They have their streaming apps, but they're basically based on, authentication with your cable network, so they don't have anything outside of that. The last 2 things I'm going to bring up, and just briefly, is Sling TV and PlayStation Vue, which are very different types of services.
PlayStation Vue is basically an internet-based cable service. It's
live broadcast, though. It's live. Not,
it's not very different from cable. It's not.
Yeah, it's like cable without cable.
Well, yeah, it's the same. It's a cable service. It's just it uses the internet as the delivery medium instead of cable.
Exactly. Sling TV is exactly the same. It's the exact same kind of service. They're at different price points. Sling TV's quite a bit cheaper.
There have been
but it's very slim. You have to add on content.
Major tech corporations have been trying to do this. Have been trying to create, to have all the services under their umbrella. It's like Apple has been trying to get a deal going where they could be a TV provider for like forever.
Yeah, Steve Jobs was talking about it before he died.
Yeah, Steve Jobs was talking about it before he died. Sony, impressively enough, managed to ink those deals and get their service rolling, which, if anybody's been following these, like TV, these networks have not been too eager to sign deals with anybody who wasn't a cable company, So the fact that Sony launched PlayStation Vue at all is pretty damn impressive. Especially with the content that they have, because if you go look at their channels, sure, there's stuff missing. There's no History Channel or whatever, but they got pretty much they got Disney.
Yeah, both Sling TV and PlayStation Vue have Disney. They have AMC, which means Walking Dead and Better Call Saul. They have, because they have Disney, they have ESPN, because Disney owns ESPN, which is big for sports, means nothing to me. But, this is a completely different kind of plan. I think the big limitation here is that this is all live broadcast.
Yeah, but you can DVR stuff with PlayStation Vue. You can save shows to your cloud DVR.
I know there have been issues with it though, because I know, I was listening to a podcast the other day and they were talking about using Sling TV to watch Better Call Saul. And they had to tune in live to watch it. And it treats each individual episode of a show as like its own separate stream. So you don't just tune into the channel and start streaming it. You tune into the program at that time. And because of that, Better Call Saul ran like 1 minute over and it just cut off the stream.
Oh, that sucks.
So it's like if you taped it and didn't set it to tape long enough. Which, happens to me with my DVR every so often. But
I learned,
you wouldn't think it would be an issue on a streaming service.
I learned with my DVR a long time ago, set the recording to end at least 5 minutes after the show's supposed to end. So at least if it goes long, 5 minutes is a good enough buffer to where, you shouldn't miss anything. Yeah. But
you'd think with a streaming service they wouldn't have this issue, but they do. So this is still, if you're wondering why they have this in the plan, but they don't also have an option, like a Netflix style option to just watch those shows when you feel like watching it and all the kind of limitations on that. Why do they have a DVR for PlayStation Vue instead of just streaming it?
That's rights issues,
Yeah, exactly. That's what the problem is. It's all rights.
Netflix could do that. Like, if they could do that, Netflix would be doing that. They're not. Yeah, Hulu would be doing that. They're not. So nobody's doing that. There's reasons because the rights holders don't want that kind of a service to exist, apparently.
We're just waiting for this wall to come tumbling down. The wall it's like this, we have this we have this wall impeding the path of progress.
Yep, pretty much.
And,
they don't want it to happen because of cable contracts.
Yeah. And sometimes it's not even necessarily that the other side that's keeping them from doing it are necessarily even opposed to it. They just have these long running contracts that aren't up for negotiation yet. And so they're not going to change anything. They're not going to concede a point when they're still going to wait to renegotiate their contracts later with the service providers. So they can't offer it. It's just they can't. Right. So you have to wait for this stuff to kind of catch up. It's unfortunate because the tech is there and it's all these rights and all this business that's in the way. Yeah, and that's kind of the state of streaming right now. A lot of good stuff. The best stuff seems to be coming from originals.
Yep, pretty much.
So yeah, what's your go-to streaming service?
Netflix.
Same here. I go Netflix, Hulu, Amazon. That's my order.
Yeah, pretty much. Netflix, Hulu, Amazon.
Amazon, fix your damn app. Fix your user experience.
Actually, you know what? I never even watch Amazon, so yeah, it's pretty much Netflix, Hulu.
Yeah, I only watch Amazon on my Wii U. And even that's like a pain in the butt. Like you can't search for something without having both the TV screen and the gamepad on.
That's lame.
Like you have to look at both. You can't just, it's so stupid. It's such bad design. But yeah, hopefully Amazon fixes this stuff. If they do, it's going to get really interesting really fast. Because I don't know, Amazon might overtake Hulu, might even overtake Netflix as my top pick, my go-to place for streaming if they just fix their interface. But they haven't yet. So we'll have to see what happens with that. But that's it for our show. If you liked our topic discussion and have anything to say, just send us a comment. contact@tventhusiast.com is our email address for that. Will Rorig joined us today. Do you have anything to plug?
Not this week.
And all I have to plug is we have a lot of video content coming to the site now. So, tomorrow I'm going to be recording our next episode of our new news show. So you can check that out. The first episode's already up. We're going to be doing episode 2 tomorrow. On Monday now, we used to record on Sunday for the, comic book show. We're going to do that on Monday now because of Game of Thrones. And so we're going to record both the comic book show and Game of Thrones both on Monday. And I'll put both those up, probably both of them up on Tuesday, maybe one up on Tuesday, one up on Wednesday. It all depends on how much time I have to edit and get them all ready. But yeah, so those are going to be coming up in the week. So that's a lot of video content we got.
Yep.
So yeah, be sure to check that out, and check out any of our other content on our website, tventhusiast.com. Thank you everybody for listening. Night.
Good night.
If you would like to voice your opinion, send an email to theweeklyset@tventhusiast.com. TV Enthusiast is a part of the Enthusiast Media Network. Stay tuned to TV Enthusiast and the Weekly Set podcast for more coverage of all of your favorite shows.